Welcome to the show, guys. Huge episode. Joseph Robert Camo, the fantasy football counselor. Massive episode. We're talking the top 10 fantasy football sleepers for 2021. I've compiled a list of running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks here that are being slept on already for fantasy football 2021. I know it's early, but we got to dive into this list. Lots of information, lots of stats, lots of analytics to get value in your drafts for 2021, guys. Huge episode. Before I get into that, very important, two big announcements. Number one, head on over to manscaped.com. Treat yourself to a Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. They got ball wipes. They got, the weed whacker for your nose to get those nose hairs out. Now, listen, you guys got to head on over there, manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. Very important. That's first thing you got to do. Second thing, guys, of course, use that promo code SHOWERLION. You're going to save 20% at Manscaped, guys. Don't forget. And second thing, guys, 16-round draft solution. The prices are going up. Get in right now. First ever video training, optimal players to draft in each round, sleepers, breakouts. I'm going to give you guys that roster to help you guys crush and dominate your leagues. It's like having me at the draft with you, but even better. You get all my notes. You get the video training. Everything, guys, is there for you. Head on over to thefantasyfootballaccounts.com or linked it below. Get the 16-round draft solution right now. Prices going up soon. Priced so everybody can get it right now. Get it, the best value. And I'm telling you guys, this is going to help you guys crush your leagues. Thefantasyfootballaccounts.com. Get the 60-round draft solution. And let's get to it, guys. Let's head on and talk about the top 10 sleepers. There's a lot of energy today. Top 10 sleepers for fantasy football 2021. Let's go now.
Taking off the gloves, I've had enough. It's in my blood. I was born for this.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. Let's dive into it. Top 10 sleepers for fantasy football 2021. Make sure you guys smash thumbs up before we get into this video. Hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the channel. And drop it below. I want to know who your sleeper is. Leave it below. Comment. Let me know. Let's interact. Who is the sleeper that you really like? Give me one or two names that you guys absolutely love this season. These are some this is top 10 here. These are just guys that really jumped out at me. Now, this list can obviously vary. I'm going to add more sleepers. I'm going to do sleepers per position. So that's why you guys got to make sure you guys subscribe, turn on the bell. You don't want to miss a thing. If you're passionate about fantasy, this is the channel for you because I'm genuinely here to help you guys crush your leagues. No more BS cookie cutter Concheapsis rankings, outdated four-letter network magazine rankings. Screw that crap. They lie to you every single year. And if you're new to the channel, you know they lie to you every single year. Odell Beckham, perfect example. They told you to draft him first round 3 years in a row. He busted 3 years in a row. Last year in the third round, they told you to draft him. Busted. They told you Lamar Jackson, second round last year. Busted. They told you Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6th overall pick. Busted. They called you Kenny and Drake. Busted. They don't think outside the box. There's no thought process. There's no mythology other than copy and paste. We're going to talk about that here when I go over these sleepers. So let's dive into this, guys. If you want to really crush your leagues and if you want to join the most passionate community, Lion Mentality, subscribe here. Get the 16 round below. Smash thumbs up and interact, guys. I love it. It's going to be a huge season. Hang on to your seats. Let's go. First sleeper I'm going to talk about here, and I'm telling you, people are sleeping on him. I'm pulling up the Concheapsis rankings. I'm a little bit shocked that they're actually sleeping on him. Actually, I'm not shocked that they're sleeping on him, but the fact of the matter is the guy I'm talking about is Carson Wentz. He's sitting 22nd on the consensus rankings. You say, well, Joe, Carson didn't have a good year last year, and I get it. He didn't have a good year. Let's not talk about last year. Philly was a bit of a mess, and understand, guys, I would assume that he had this feeling that he was kind of being phased out. Jalen Hurts came in, took the job, but, as much as I dislike Carson Wentz, and I've expressed my dislike towards Carson Wentz, it's because he was overpaid. He was paid the $128 million prematurely, based on not much effort, right? He had the 13 games in that one season, I think it was 2016, 2017, where he crushed it, but then fell apart and Foles won the Super Bowl. Listen, this guy's just not performed up to where he potentially can. But this is a scenario change, guys. It's a new scenery. When you have new scenery, you have an opportunity. It's all about opportunity, right? You could be the underdog. You could be a guy or a girl that just never had the opportunity, but then you get the call. Then you get the opportunity, you get the chance. And with opportunity, you can prevail. And Carson Wentz was never a terrible quarterback, but he was a guy that just kind of underperformed on the scenario. He never really had good receivers. And you can make an argument, Joe, he doesn't have good receivers now. And I get it, but I think the opportunity is there for him. I like it, and I think he's going to shine. Now, he is currently sitting, like I said, 22nd right now. Okay, 22nd on the Consheepsis rankings. But when you look at the good year that he had, I'm going to pull this up here, and I believe it was let me pull this up here. It was 2017. Now, when you look at Carson Wentz, he finished 5th amongst quarterbacks 2017, 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Good year, guys. Good year. 440 attempts. He finished 4th and 5th in fantasy points that year, and he was like 23rd in attempts. He only threw the ball 440 times. That's going to go up. He's going to throw the ball more. He's got a good O-line to protect him, and he's got an opportunity. This is it. I mean, he's bitter. He's got a chip on his shoulder. We know about quarterbacks that have chips on their shoulders. We saw it last year, and we saw it with Aaron Rodgers, and I told you, you guys are sleeping on Aaron Rodgers. The guy had a chip on his shoulder. I'm not saying Carson Wentz is Aaron Rodgers, but what I'm saying is the opportunities there. Pittman's young. They got a good O-line. They got a good running game. Now you can make, again, an argument that Jonathan Taylor's there. It's a run-first team, and he's great. I like Taylor, a guy that I suggested you draft in the 3rd round last year. But again, when you look at Carson Wentz, I think the opportunity is there. Now, I'm saying draft this guy as your starting quarterback. You can get this guy for value as a backup quarterback with top 10 potential. Yes, that's the upside of this guy. I like him, and he's a huge upgrade from Phillip Rivers, Mr. Safe and Reliable Rivers, who had a mediocre year last year. I mean, if he finished 20th amongst quarterbacks last year, Phillip Rivers, 543 attempts, 24 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Carson Wentz is going to do a lot better, younger, hungrier, and he's got that upside. So I'm going to go with Carson Wentz here as a guy who's a sleeper with a ton of upside. And again, sitting 22nd, I think we could do better than that, Consheepsis. All right, let's move on here. Next time I'm talking about here is Cam Akers. Now, why do I like Cam Akers so much is because people are sleeping on me. Sitting 18th right now on the Consheepsis rankings. 18th, guys. 18th amongst running backs, okay? The guy, when he played, he had 4.3 yards per carry last year. He didn't get going. Listen to this. He didn't really get going integrated till around week 13, and he was used in the playoffs. So when you look at him, guys, he was week 13, he had 21 attempts, week 14, 29 attempts. So he started getting utilized near the end, right? As they're trying to make the playoffs and as they're emerging as a team that wants to potentially win the Super Bowl, which didn't happen. But listen, Cam Akers is going to be the workhorse. He was drafted, I believe, in the 2nd round because he was a guy that's going to get it done. They want the workhorse. They wanted that guy to replace Todd Gurley. This guy had a rough first start of the season last year because he got hurt. He had the rib injury. I know doing MMA, rib injuries hurt, right? Because it feels like a stinging pain. You can't wrap them up like you used to back in the old days. You got to let that heal with time. It's a nagging pain. So if you re-aggravate or if you get struck in the ribs, it's very sharp, painful pain. It's excruciating depending on the severity of the injury. And he had a rib injury. And again, he found his groove near the end of the season, and he's going to step up and add to that this season. Okay, so I think people are sleeping on him. I think get this guy for good value. And I think he's going to be a top 10 potential workhorse running back. Just because he finished 45 last year amongst running backs in PPR doesn't mean he's going to finish 45 again because he didn't get going again. We saw the attempts. We saw 29 attempts in week 14. It's a good sign. It's a really good sign that he is going to be the man, okay? Next sleeper here I want to talk about. Now, this is just a shame. I can't believe people are sleeping on this guy. The guy I'm talking about is Julio Jones. Now, you're saying, Joe, how are they sleeping on Julio Jones? He's sitting number 12 amongst wide receivers. How is that possible? They are sleeping on him because they've got Calvin Ridley ahead of him. Now, I actually laid out when they played, I think Julio played around 9 games last year, okay? In those games that he played, I did a comparison in regards to target count with Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones. By the way, Calvin Ridley is sitting ahead in the top 10 right now on the Consheepsis rankings. I'm going to see exactly where he's sitting, which is pretty crazy. Calvin Ridley is currently sitting 7th amongst wide receivers in PPR standings on the consensus, ranked ahead of Julio Jones. And I did a comparison. The targets were pretty similar. There are some games where Julio out-targeted Calvin Ridley, and there are some games that Calvin Ridley out-targeted Julio Jones. Now, assuming Matt Ryan comes back, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, and he's going to want to play better. Assuming he comes back, Julio should still do well, predicated he's healthy. Julio, 32 years old, is still the wide receiver one, arguably the best wide receiver in the game. And what the Consheepsis, the mainstream people are doing in the fantasy industry is that they're bringing Julio down. This is embarrassing. This is ridiculing. This is ludicrous because if you look at Julio Jones, now I'm going to go back. Let's go back a couple years. In 2019, he had the one bad year last year. He played 9 games, 771 yards, 3 touchdowns. Terrible. I won't even tell you where he finished. He didn't finish in the top 20, okay? He didn't finish well. He had one bad year. We get it. Injuries, and a lot of that was the hamstring, okay? And I think Matt Ryan and I think the Falcons played terrible as a whole. it was a bad year, but it happens. You can't be perfect every year, but check this out. Finished number 3 amongst wide receivers in 2019. In 2018, number 4 amongst wide receivers. 2017, number 7. I can keep going. Finished number 6 amongst wide receivers in 2016 and finished number 2 amongst wide receivers in fantasy points in 2015. He always finishes in the top 5, top 10 amongst wide receivers when healthy. He gets the targets, he gets the yardage, and he gets the PPR numbers. And what the Conchiefs are doing, the mainstream consensus rankings, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, he had a bad year last year, so let's bring him down in value. Let's put Calvin Ridley ahead of him. This is the same thing. I want you guys to sink in. This is very important. This is the same thing that happened to Chris Godwin. Godwin had a good 2019, finished ahead of Evans, and then they put Godwin ahead of Evans, but they both put him in the top 10. And I said, guys, listen. This is crazy. This is absolutely nuts, guys. There's no way that Godwin finishes ahead of Evans and he's going to, have a pinnacle year yet again. Godwin had a good 2019. He's going to decline. Both these guys are going to finish out of top 10 because Brady's there. He spreads the ball around. Sure enough, Evans finished 11th amongst wide receivers in PPR. Godwin well below. Both of them, as predicted, finished outside the top 10, and Evans outperformed Godwin. That's why I didn't draft a second-round draft pick ADP on Godwin last year and a third-round on ADP on Evans because I saw the trend. I saw the potential. Now, don't get me wrong. I could be wrong this year. Ridley could come out and ball and completely be the wide receiver 1. But again, this is just predicated on the copy and paste of last year and the success that Ridley had last year. They're saying, okay, well, Ridley beat Julio last year. We're going to rank him ahead of Julio this year. Sorry, Ridley beat Julio last year, so we're going to rank him ahead. It doesn't make sense. Julio's been the guy, always been the guy. And we see it from, 2019, 2018, 2017, 2016, 2015. I can go back farther, right? And I still think there's more juice left in the tank with Julio Jones. Again, I think people are going to sleep on him based on the ADP. And this is a guy that was drafted in the first round all those years. One bad year and he falls out. This is insane. It's ludicrous. I love Julio Jones and I'm still going to draft him as soon as I can get him. But again, guys, I'm going to be going running back, so I don't know if I can get Julio Jones the first 3 round. Probably not. But I'm telling you, if I might just get him. Who knows? Depends on how the chips fall, right? He might be good value. Big time fantasy football sleeper 2021 at the wide receiver position. Next guy here is David Montgomery. Now, this is where surprisingly the copy and paste doesn't happen with the consensus rankings because he's not a popular player. But the guy I'm talking about is David Montgomery, number 4. Now, he is sitting right now 19th on the consensus in the rankings. Now, he finished 4th last year in fantasy points. Love the fact that he gets the attempts, 8 touchdowns, 264 points. David Montgomery is an absolute beast. He's an absolute monster. I absolutely love him. And he's finally gotten into the groove of success. Now, the only problem is Tariq Cohen come back? Is he going to be a factor? Tariq Cohen should not touch the ball. We saw their success with David Montgomery running the rock. He can catch better than Tariq Cohen. He can run better, and he can get the goal line work. 8 touchdowns, that should go up. 260 attempts should be a floor for him. He's going to be a workhorse. He's going to be a monster. Now, I'm not saying draft him as your RB1. You can get this guy probably based on ADPs right now. Just looking at it, we haven't done any mock drafts. It is early in this discussion, but you can get this guy 3rd or 4th round easily all day long as your RB 2-3 at least, maybe even RB4. So I think people are going to be sleeping on him still. Again, he proved that he could be a workhorse back and he's capable. I can't believe the Conchiefs are sleeping on him. Actually, I do believe it because they're idiots. So yeah, I mean, David Montgomery, can't go wrong there. Number 5 here, Adam Thielen. Now, trust me, I'm a Jefferson fan here. I was the guy that said get Jefferson in the 7th round in my consensus, in my 16-round draft solution, while the Conchiefs, the consensus, were saying, he was a top waiver wire pick. They were calling him the waiver wire wonder. Nobody made you aware of, Justin Jefferson. Nobody made you aware of him. They kind of talked about him here and there, but I was the guy talking about this in my 16-round draft solution. That's why you guys got to get up below or head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com. Get it. And everybody's sleeping on him. Now they're riding his dick. They're like, oh, we got to ride the Jefferson train. He's the guy. And I like him. And I probably do like him more than Thielen. But what I'm saying is everybody's sleeping on Thielen. Now, Thielen didn't have a great 2020. He had a decent one. And he also didn't have the greatest 2019 because he was banged up that year. But in 2018, he did crush it. He had 155 targets, 9 touchdowns, 1,373 yards, and finished 7th in PPR amongst wide receivers. That was 2018. He had a monster year. 2019, like I said, he got hurt. 2020, Jefferson emerged, and they focused a little bit on the run game. But I think Thielen, sitting 21st on the consensus rankings right now, is a guy that you could target for good value, who could be a wide receiver 1. We want to see the targets definitely go up with Thielen. And again, with Jefferson there, he's going to steal a lot, but I still think there's going to be enough to go around between both these guys to make Thielen a viable wide receiver 2 upside kind of guy. So this is what I mean. You can get value at wide receiver without paying in the first or second round. And I love Jefferson in the 7th round last year. I was stealing him in all my drafts, and so were you guys if you got 16-round draft solution. But now, am I willing to pay that high of a price? No, probably not. He's currently sitting, where is he sitting right now? He's sitting 11th on the consensus rankings. So I mean, that could go up or go down. He's a little higher in standard formats. I see him actually sitting at an 8th in standard right now. So, Jefferson's good, but I think Thielen's going to be a sleeper. I got him at number 5. Next guy I'm talking about completely being slept on again, and it partly predicated on the fact that Burrow was hurt. And Burrow's also a sleeper that I didn't mention in this list, but the guy I'm talking about is T. Higgins at number 6. 33 right now in the consensus rankings. This guy had 908 yards, 6 touchdowns in his rookie year with Joe Burrow being banged up for pretty much half the season. I don't know how long Burrow's out. He's gone for a long time. But you're looking at T. Higgins here, dynamic receiver. A.J. Green, he got phased out. This is a guy that I told you to stash on your bench last year with Higgins, and he still did relatively well, predicated on the fact that he didn't really get going until a little bit later in the season. And then with Burrow gone, it really hurt him. I think Burrow coming back, they got to make some O-line improvements. They got to make some improvements probably in the running game. So once all these improvements are made, we're looking at a ton of upside for T. Higgins, young, dynamic, and probably the future of the Bengals, okay? Coming at number 6. Coming at number 7, we're talking Robby Anderson here. Robby Anderson actually is a guy they're sleeping on yet again. They didn't learn their lesson last year. Now, at the time of this recording, there's talk of Deshaun Watson ending up there in Carolina. We don't know. Uncertain right now. It is very early at the time of this recording, but I will tell you that Robby Anderson is being slept on 35th right now on the consensus rankings. Finished 19th last year, 136 targets, over 1,000 yards, 3 touchdowns. If he gets a good quarterback thrown to him, this guy is a dynamic wide receiver 1. He's had some unfortunate events. He was on the Jets, didn't do too well there. Had a decent year last year, and I said, get this guy on your bench. He finished 19th amongst wide receivers. I think people are sleeping on him yet again. There's no respect for Mr. Robby Anderson. 3 more to go, guys. Before I get to these guys again, make sure you smash thumbs up and leave a comment below. Let me know, does this make sense to you? I'm spitting out stats. I'm spitting out facts. I'm spitting out opportunity for these guys, and you're going to get them for better value, and these guys could absolutely boom. There's a ton of upside here with these guys. I'm telling you, it's going to be exciting. Number 8 here, Diontae Johnson. Now, he's sitting 22nd on the consensus rankings. Now, here's the cool thing about Diontae is that he's on a team with Big Ben. They're going to renegotiate the deal with Big Ben. He's probably going to end up on the Steelers yet again. He's going to finish out and cement his legacy there. And he's going to want to finish strong, right? He's going to want to finish his legacy strong. Big Ben's a guy that throws a lot. He's top 5 quarterback in attempts all the time. Diontae was the number 1 receiver last year, 144 targets, 88 receptions, 900 plus yards, and 7 touchdowns. So Diontae Johnson's a guy that could step up as the 1. We don't know what's going to happen with Juju. I think they ship Juju off. I wouldn't pay Juju. He's good, but he's not that great. You've got Diontae, you've got Claypool, you've got some weapons there. Maybe you draft another young wide receiver that's dynamic. You give Big Ben some options there. But Diontae, very well and very capable of a guy that could be the wide receiver 1 on the offense. Now, he did have some issues with his hands dropping the ball. He kind of improved that near the end of the season. Obviously, that's something that, maybe it was a timing issue. Maybe it was just brick hands. Maybe he was just looking away from the ball. Either way, Diontae made those adjustments at the end of the season. And again, he was the target leader, which means Big Ben likes him. And as I said at the beginning of this, when I started talking about Diontae here, is that Big Ben throws the ball a lot. So you're going to get a lot of volume, a lot of attempts. This is a guy that made Antonio Brown and Juju amazing wide receivers years ago, and is going to continue to do that with Diontae and Claypool, who I think are both sleepers, but I'm mentioning Diontae here in this particular number here at 8. Number 9, this guy, you say, well, Joe, he's not a sleeper, but he is. He's sitting number 20th right now amongst running backs. The guy I'm talking about is James Robinson. Now, this team is definitely going to improve. I imagine they're going to get a top ace quarterback, maybe Trevor Lawrence or someone like that. And that's going to mean they're going to throw the ball a lot more, maybe open things up for James Robinson, who came out in his rookie year, finished 7th in fantasy points, 240 attempts, 7 touchdowns, got it done on the ground, really proved that he is a capable workhorse running back, and right now is sitting 20th on the consensus ranking. He's a guy that you get for absolute value, and a big part of that, again, it's a popularity contest. He's on the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's not very exciting. Neither are the Bears, right? So when you look at these teams, they're not that exciting. People want the flashy teams. People want those players that are flash. They want the McCaffreys. They want those guys that that have done it before, and people are going to be sleeping on Robinson, but I think I can get him for good value. And this is a scenario where if I load up on 1 or 2 running backs, I get Julio Jones in round 2 or 3, maybe round 3, let's say, I could come back and get Robinson maybe round 4. That would be a sneaky pickup. So yeah, I might go robust RB, but we'll see how the chips fall. But maybe Robinson's a guy that I might get who could be a top 10 guy that I can get for value, but definitely people are sleeping on him, okay? And the last spot here now is torn on this. There's a bunch of sleepers I wanted to put in here, maybe Claypool, Pittman, because I did mention Wentz. I think Pittman's going to be a beneficiary there with the Carson Wentz emergence here this year. But the guy I had to put in here is Matt Ryan. Now, people are like, okay, Matt Ryan's washed up. Joe, why are you talking about this? He's sitting 14th amongst quarterbacks. Now, I've seen the trend with Matt Ryan because I've been a Matt Ryan owner in a lot of my fantasy leagues, and I've seen this all the time. He has one bad year, falls completely off the radar. He comes back, and all of a sudden the next year, everybody's riding his dick. So Matt Ryan, I mean, he's sitting 14th, a quarterback that you can get as a, listen to this, as a backup quarterback, okay? A backup quarterback with a ton of upside there. So if you get yourself a Herbert early, or if you get yourself a Russell Wilson or someone like that, you can back him up with Matt Ryan and feel safe and solid. This guy could finish top 5 amongst quarterbacks. Yes, top 5 amongst quarterbacks. He was number 1 in attempts last year, 626, so he throws the ball out. He happens to have Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. So how is Calvin Ridley 7th amongst wide receivers? Guess who's throwing him the damn ball? It's Matt Ryan, yet the mainstream is sleeping on Matt Ryan. Shame on you. Shame on you, consensus. You have Julio and, Julio 12th right now, still pretty much top 10. And you have Calvin Ridley. Now that's PPR, 12 and 7. In standard, they have Ridley at 4, and they have Julio at 10. So you could say they've got both Julio and Matt Ryan in the top 10 of the rankings. Julio and Calvin Ridley in the top 10, but Matt Ryan is 14th amongst quarterbacks. Guess who's throwing on the ball? You dumb idiots. It's just crazy and ludicrous how they treat him. So Matt Ryan's a sleeper for me because I do think that Julio does well. He's one of my sleepers here. I think Matt Ryan's just being slept on again. There's no respect. I mean, he had a bad year last year. He's going to want another guy, want to finish his career off strong. Him and Big Ben should have big years this year, but Matt Ryan to round out the top 10 sleepers here for you guys for Fantasy Football 2021, the early list. Okay, guys? Comment below. Let me know what you think. Okay, so recap. Wentz, Akers, Julio, David Montgomery, Adam Thielen, T. Higgins, Robby Anderson, Diontae Johnson, James Robinson, and Matt Ryan, all being slept on right now. Get them for good value, guys. Make sure you guys do. And get the 16-round draft session because I'll tell you exactly which round to get these guys via mock drafts, my notes, and in video trading form. Okay, guys? Hope you enjoyed it. I'm laying out the stats, laying out the facts. Look for the opportunity in players. Don't just go for the popular name and the recency bias to last year. Smash thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video. Subscribe. I am out. Those are your Fantasy Football Sleepers 2021. Target them. I'm out.